Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Darrius Jeter, along with my co-host, Dr. Gena Crawford, and welcome to the 360 podcast, where we talk about all things business, hopefully inspiring you to move from beyond basic. Welcome, everybody. Again, it's indeed a pleasure to have you join us for the 360 podcast. If you are an organization, an individual business, and you can benefit from our consultation, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at catalyst360consulting.com. We're going to jump right into it today. We got a great show for you. We'll be talking about customer service. Woo! It's something that's vitally important to every business, but it so often gets treated as an afterthought, like it's non-essential. So we're going to jump right into that today. So, what is customer service? You as a business owner, you hear that word. What is customer service? Well, let me tell you. Customer service, I'll tell you what it's not. Customer service is not just about being polite. It's not about just saying, have a nice day. It's not about just saying, my pleasure. It's about the entire experience that someone has when they have an interaction with your business or with your brand. It's about what happens before, during, and even after the transaction. So, customer service, it shows up and how you respond to the DMs, the direct messages on your social media platforms. It's how you handle the complaints that arise. It's how you follow up, whether it's quickly or whether it's slow. It's how people feel they are treated overall when they're interacting with you. It's about making the customer feel seen, feel heard, feel valued, and not just like they're a number, like they're just one transaction off to the next. They don't want to feel like that. So it goes beyond just traditional industries. Customer service transcends every industry. Whether we're in this digital age now, so it encompasses whether you're a creative content creator, some type of freelance worker, whether you're a small business owner with a physical location, or even if you're running a large operation. Your customer service is a part of what makes your business your business. Is every interaction that you have with the consumer. Every interaction is a chance for you to either strengthen your brand or make your brand weaker. And we all know some of the differences. Like you go to Chick-fil-A, there's a totally different experience that you have at Chick-fil-A than you have at McDonald's. I'm not bashing one over the other. I'm just saying there's a different experience, and you have a preference for how you want to be treated. So that kind of plays into why customer service matters. Because the truth is, people may not remember, the finer things of the fine details of everything that happened with you. They may not even remember what they bought. I buy from Amazon a lot. I don't necessarily remember all the things that I've bought from Amazon, but I do know it comes the next day.
Right.
So it's not about them remembering all the details. What they will definitely remember is how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's feelings that drive loyalty. It's feelings that drive reviews.
Yes.
Sometimes people you can get excellent customer service and you won't even leave a review. That sometimes them not leaving a review is a plus. But if you get some horrible customer service, people will take the time out of their day to list how bad you made them feel. But it's those feelings that'll make people, they'll drive a distance just to partake of what you're offering. They'll drive whether somebody, they drive whether that chance to have that interaction. It's that value, that loyalty, that feeling that they get from you to make them drive a distance, or to say, I'm never going back over there again. And you can be around the corner. They may drive an hour to do business with this company rather than go around the corner to do business with you.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. So when you do business with someone, whether you're running a restaurant, a boutique, some kind of online digital service, anything, there's a choice that's being made. We have to understand that there's a choice that's being made. That customer could spend their money anywhere, but they chose to spend it with you. And that choice comes with meaning. It comes with an unspoken bond, an unspoken connection here, especially in places like restaurants.
Yeah.
Because people aren't just buying a meal. You know, they're celebrating something, a birthday, a graduation, an anniversary, a date night. It's a night out, and that night out matters to them. So when the service is poor, they're not just frustrated, they're disappointed on a deeper level. It's not just about the food, it's about the experience. They're frustrated on a deeper level. So when we start talking about customer service, we have to understand that customers sometimes have a right to feel how they feel. Sometimes they have a right to expect quality service. And when you don't deliver, sometimes they have the right to be upset. That's part of doing business. Managing the customer's emotions sometimes is a part of doing business. It's not what we signed up for, but it's a part of what makes your business, and it's a part of doing business. And sometimes you have to eat the mistake that you make, and sometimes that's not just metaphorically. Sometimes that can be an expensive meal that you have to eat for your mistake. Because when we look at it, we always talk about bad days. You know, sometimes people have bad days. Yes, everybody have a bad day sometimes. Even businesses have bad days. But when it comes to you serving your customers, just because you had a bad day, just because you're having a bad day, doesn't mean that the customer has to understand it or even accept it. And that ain't always fair. But that's not their responsibility. So sometimes providing good customer service means shouldering the loss financially sometimes, or emotionally sometimes. Sometimes you to maintain that trust, sometimes you have to say, you know what, I got to eat this loss. I'm going to refund or whatever the case may be. So because customer service matters.
It does.
It's one of the most important, but yet one of the most overlooked parts of running a business. We can't afford to treat people like they are an afterthought. Especially if you're just starting out, especially if you're a small business. Word of mouth will kill your business. Customer service is one of the things that will set you apart. Again, you look at the difference between Chick-fil-A and Burger King, Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, and all these different things. You might not have the biggest budget or the flashiest setup or even all the bells and whistles, but you can treat people right. And they'll notice that. They'll come back for that. And they'll tell others about that. So you don't necessarily need to have this big team to give good service. You just need the right mindset, the right strategy, making sure you communicate clearly and properly and appropriately. And here's the thing, apologize when it's necessary. Make people feel like they matter, because they do. And with all that being said, Dr. Crawford, I want to ask you, we all know that customers, consumers, whatever, they investigate a business before they decide to patronize that business.
Yes.
Whether it's a restaurant, whether it's an online store, whether it's a hotel, whatever it is, they checking Facebook, they're looking at the pictures, they checking online reviews, they're looking at Yelp, they're asking other folks, seeing what they got to say. So as a customer, when it comes to customer service, what's one experience, whether good or bad, that you had that really kind of stuck with you, that kind of shaped how you think about customer service and business? But not only that, how it influenced your thinking on how you provide customer service as a business owner. Like, you know, we have the customer's point of view, but there's also the business's point of view. Is the customer always right?
You see me clear my throat, right? Several times. So, hey y'all. So one experience I was thinking about, and actually I thought about it this morning. So I went to this store, and I went to purchase a poster board. We know poster board is what, 99 cents. This is maybe 10 years ago, 99 cents, not even $1, right? So I go to check out, and the young lady brings it up, and so she says, "Well, that'll be $8 and some change." And I was like, I'm looking around like, who is she talking about? It's a white poster board. And so I said, wait a minute, what'd you say? She's like, oh, that'll be $8 and whatever the change was. And I was like, for a poster board? He's,
No, ma'am.
listen to me carefully. This is what she said to me next. That's not how much it is. And I looked at her. Then she says, well, how much is it? Ma'am, look at your garment of praise. This says that you are employed here. I don't know how. I was not necessarily looking at the price in that. I don't remember exact numbers, but I know just from experience. Okay, it doesn't cost this much. Yeah. And so part of it was, she was distracted by, I think, the phone or something like that. And so I took that experience. Now this happened well over 10 years ago, but I took that experience and was like, you know what? Let me make sure that I know. Here's the thing. When hiring people, making sure that they understand their role in my business.
Yes.
And so when I was thinking about it, often, especially we see it now, people hire people because they need somebody. People hire people because they want somebody to fill a role. And when you're talking about business and you're hiring people who are assisting you or whatever the case may be, when you talk about customer service, it matters because that employee is really an extension of your business, and it's also an extension. Sometimes people will say an extension of you. Yes. As a business owner, and also looking at it from the people that you hire, the people that you say are working in your establishment. That's also a marketing tool because the customer's experience is also a good marketing tool because people, they may see your flyers, they may see your social media pages, but to hear about the experience, as you said, to hear about an experience. That, hey, you've got to try this place. And then that person, their friend tells somebody else, and so on, like the Head and Shoulders commercial. And so you and I recently had this experience with the table, they're talking about those celebratory moments. And so literally we were on the way home from there, and Robert said, he said, well, how would you have handled that? He was like, no, he said, how would Catalyst have handled it? And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Everywhere you go, even though you're going out and you're just kind of going out, even in those moments where you're celebrating as a business owner, the who's about to come out and say business, as a business owner, you are looking at those experiences. You may not even be sitting in a class per se, but when you go to other businesses, pay attention as a business owner and even as a consumer, but especially as a business owner, pay attention to the things that are happening when you are experiencing certain things. Because now, looking at the experience that we had, there was so much that came out of that helps spark this conversation. Right. And so when you're talking about, being a consumer and being a business owner, you're forever learning. You're forever learning. So as a consumer, as a customer, you take you take your experiences and you filter it in to your business. Okay, I know what to do. I know what not to do. And so even for the person who was the general manager, whoever his role was, one thing that came out to my mind was don't make promises that you can't keep.
Right.
Don't make, and even if you're the person by name who handles this type of thing, if you know that it's not your strength, then you find somebody within your business to say, hey, I need assistance with this. So sometimes it's a pride issue, especially when you talk about the whole piece of apologizing. Right. Sometimes it's a pride issue because I don't want to admit that I didn't know what I was doing. or
Right.
I don't want to admit that I'm not well versed, in this thing. And again, put yourself in the customer's place. How would
Right.
you want to be treated?
Right.
Um, but and that whole thing of, and you is the customer still always right? Because the reason I asked that question, and if you're watching, feel free to chime in. Um, considering the way the world is now, considering sometimes we're not the most respectful people when it comes to being consumers, is does that still stand? Is the customer still always right?
I, it's a it's a sticky situation because
Yeah.
we have to realize that there are times when people are trying to take advantage, when the customer may be trying to take
Okay.
advantage, but also we can't deny the fact sometimes that wrong has happened. So I think when it comes to customer service, especially when there's an issue that has arose, sometimes it has to become like a kind of a negotiation, because we can
Mm,
assume that our way of dealing with it is going to just necessarily be acceptable, because it may come off as disrespectful.
yeah.
So I think one of the best ways to begin that conversation is you're asking the customer, tell me what happened. Let them explain to you from their point of view what happened, because then as you're listening to what happened, you're going to pick up on a few things. You're going to pick up on emotion. So
Mm-hmm.
now you're going to understand whether this is something that's happening, not just about them spending the money, but like I say, this is an experience that we may have just ruined. So that's priceless. That's invaluable. Also, they're going to begin to kind of lay out some different things from their point of view of how things happen, of what happened. So then you'll be able to determine if the gripe they have is something that's within your control, or if it's something that goes against the policy that you have clearly established, and they just don't like it and want to buck against it.
Yeah.
So you're going to learn a few things as that conversation begins to happen. If it's something that's clearly your fault, instead of saying something like, why don't we just do this, or just throwing something out, because you may not, like again, it may come off as disrespectful. What can we do to make this right? Because now you're putting it in their hands. Let them give you a suggestion of what it is. And again, sometimes you may have to take that financial loss to make things right, especially if you're trying to keep them as a customer, because sometimes, like I say, word of mouth can kill a business very quickly.
Yes. And we understand about that taking a loss, because that day
Yes.
you took that, they took a hard hit that day.
Yes, they
They
did.
took a hard hit that day. And interestingly enough, it was, again, on the ride home, we were trying to justify, because it was like, oh my goodness, they're never going to let us pick again. And so we were trying, so we felt really bad, because it was like, oh my goodness, we picked this place and this is what happens. And we've never had this experience before. And so sometimes, again, it's like, okay, do we go back? Do we try to make up for this? Especially, if you have other people that you've already spoken about this place. Oh,
Right,
they do this and they do that, and then you get there and it's like, oh my goodness.
right. I
Now
want
sometimes
to,
there's a trust factor. Like, okay, you're not
yeah.
picking me.
Well, see, yeah, I want to speak to that, because again, like when you talk about that, what's actually happening is, as a business, you don't want to have to put your customer in a position where they feel like they
Yes.
have to defend you. Because when it comes to restaurants and things like that, and you're inviting people, it's like you're inviting them into your space, into your world, and you
Mm-hmm.
want it to be perfect. But there are a bunch of people that you have no control over,
Right.
who are helping to create that atmosphere. So you don't want to put your customer in a position where they have to kind of defend you, because that's not their role, that's not their responsibility. And you should, and we didn't think bad about the place being picked or anything, because it's beyond your control. But that's a horrible feeling as a
It is.
consumer to be
Yeah.
in, and that's one of those things that you can't put a price on.
I mean, it's, even when you're telling somebody especially if you know somebody personally, and I've known this to happen as well. when you know somebody personally and it's like you refer them to somebody else, and that person comes back to you and go, yeah, that what the product was, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah. Because
and
what
it's like,
happened?
how do you handle that? Do you go back to the person, especially if you're close to that person, if they're your friend? Do you kind of go back and say, hey, what happened? Or in some instances, I've known where people have tried to, they didn't say anything to the person, but they tried to reimburse the person themselves to just to keep the peace between them and their friends, or to keep the friendship. They try to handle it themselves. Okay, I'll just give you your money back.
So what are you asking? Is it right to do that, or
Is it even good to try to keep the peace? Like, I'm not gonna tell my friend, this is a hypothetical, I'm not gonna tell my friend, but I still need to keep this other person as my friend. So I'm the middleman.
yeah?
So, do I tell my friend, hey, that product or that person's experience was crappy? Or do I give that person, the other person, the money back just for the sake of keeping the friendships?
Well, I'll put it like this: as far as you being the person to give money back, I wouldn't recommend that because it's not your business. You made a recommendation based off your experience. Now, if I do have a great relationship with the business that I referred to, I
Mm-hmm.
can say, listen, I referred somebody to you, and the quality of service or product that you gave them was not the same level that you gave me. I put my reputation out for you, and if I'm going to continue to refer people to you, then you're gonna have to step up, or however that conversation needs to go. But as the middleman, no, you shouldn't have to eat that cost. It should be let them have that conversation with let the person we referred have that conversation with the business, and the business, and you say that was not my experience. I'm sorry they treated you that way. Uh, I'm perfectly fine if you never want to do business with them again. But we have to be clear with the businesses that we're referring people to. Hey, look, I'm putting my reputation on the line.
Yeah.
You got to bring it.
And sometimes,
Yeah,
I'm glad you said sometimes it's good to even let the person know up front, hey, I'm referring somebody to you. So, sometimes we know people and we know certain things are happening in their life, and that's like life happens. Um, and so sometimes it's good to have those conversations just to kind of say, hey, I know you have a lot going on, or I'm referring this person to you. If, just kind of put it out there. If you need assistance, or if you can't do it right now, let me know, and I may say, or give me another person that I can refer this person to.
right.
Um, we have a question in the chat
Oh, all right.
from soon to be Dr. Marquisa Williams. Hello, Sister Marquisa. In today's society, a lot of businesses are online. What if there's not an opportunity to speak to them on a personal? How do you handle reviews that may not be satisfactory? That is a good question. A lot of people are doing online. A lot of customers. I just throw this in here. This is my personal pet peeve. I hate calling and I
Yeah,
could not get anybody on the phone. That is so annoying. And so, we are in this age now where it's press one, press two,
yeah,
say number one, say this. I did not understand your answer.
yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do we handle it?
So, as the consumer or as the business?
I would say probably, well, let's start with the consumer. Like, how would you handle that as a consumer?
As the consumer, I'm probably not going to do business with it again. And
Yeah,
if at all possible, if I have spent money and I did not get the service, I'm going to call the credit card company and dispute that charge. That's
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 good.
probably going to be the first thing that I do, especially if I can't get anybody online. Um, and there are instances where I've done that when I've talked to the person in person, and I've called the credit card company, disputed, and I got my money back. But that's one route to take. Okay, as the business,
The business.
as
Okay.
the business. So as the business, if somebody has done business with us online, they left a bad review. Um, I think one of the ways of trying to do that is if they have spent the money, we should be able to get their email address or something when they process the transaction, some form of way of being able to contact them. So we should use those means if able to contact them. If that's not a way to contact them, what I have seen a lot of businesses doing, that hood just tried to come out of me too. What I have seen a lot of businesses doing is they are very active on these review sites, and they go in and they start addressing those comments and those reviews personally, saying, things like, "Hey, I'm sorry about your experience. If you have the time, please reach out to me personally. This is my number. We want to make this right." And give them the opportunity to make that contact so you can make it right. But it shows people who are reading reviews, hey, they are active, they are taking this serious, and they will reach out to try to make it right. Now, if that person never contacts you, there's nothing you can do about it. But what the general public is going to see is that, hey, we are addressing this, we are serious about this, and we are active in it.
I have seen a lot of that lately. And that has been quite interesting, where even if it's a generic message, sometimes, it's like, okay, let's put this out here, because I think that has happened a lot, just, that especially because of the online piece now.
Right.
One thing I wanted to encourage, just as a business owner, to do is think about, just brainstorm worst case scenarios.
Yes.
Oftentimes in business, we think, oh, everybody's going to be happy. I know how to do this. But sometimes you actually have to sit and think, okay, what if this transaction does not go the way that I think it's going to go? What if this person is not pleased with my product? What is if this person is not pleased with my service? So I think it's a good thing, even as from a small business to large businesses, practice worst case scenarios. Because nowadays, you never know the state of mind that people are in. And so if a person comes in, even if it's online, I know we've all seen it, where sometimes people will go to social media, and they will begin based off of one experience.
Right.
Don't patronize this person because this is this. And I've seen recently even people taking videos.
Right.
And so that is the last thing that you want to happen. So I think it's a good idea, even though you're not saying that. I don't want people to see it as, oh, I'm not good at what I do. But because of the way that the world that we're living in now, you have to practice and brainstorm worst case scenarios.
Right.
And even if it's, your family and friends, or especially if you're just kind of starting, find those people that you can say, okay, I want you to make it fun. Pretend this happens. Okay, what do you do? So even though you may get to that point and it actually happens, or it may never happen, but it actually happens, you will have some idea as to how to handle certain situations.
Right. Because, like you say, everybody has a phone right now and
Yes.
recording everything. So you don't want to go viral for the wrong reason. And this is why I say you kind of have to treat these interactions as a negotiation, and I don't mean that negatively, but you can't go into it with an emotion. You have to try to see it from that other person's perspective, because when somebody is irate, you don't know what they got going on in their life. You don't know how this put them over the edge.
Yeah.
But you need to be that calming voice, which means that if you are not the person dealing with customers directly, you need to make sure that the face of the people you do have know how to deal with people under pressure. They can't come to work with their emotions and their feelings on their sleeves as well. It's not time to let people know I ain't the one and all these things. You are the face of the business right now. You got to have a clear head and try to diffuse a situation. Because what you don't want is for your business to make the internet highlight reel for the wrong reasons, because members of your staff are representing your business and your brand in a negative light.
But first of all, that's funny just to hear you say I ain't the one. but I mean, it's real now, and no knock against our younger generation. But what I'm noticing is from just hiring a lot of younger people, they may not necessarily have the customer service etiquette. And I think that is crucial. If you're going to hire them, it's like, make sure that they're trained, make sure that they know how to greet people. One thing that I've taught, and this is just something that I just do personally, is if I go into an establishment, especially if it's a smaller business, when I go in, this for me, if you don't acknowledge my presence, and I get it if you're busy and that it's crowded, that's different. But if I walk in and you're behind the desk and you're on the phone and you're just kind of like whatever, I walk out.
Yes.
I
Yes.
walk out. I'm not going to spend my dollars in a place that does not acknowledge me.
Especially when we make eye contact and you can't
Yeah,
wave
yes,
or nod. Yeah, I'm heading out.
yeah. I'm heading out, and
Yeah.
so I think that's important. Like you say, people want to feel like I'm seen. You see me, and my dollars are important.
Right.
I've chosen to spend my money. I've chosen to invest
Right.
into your business. And so, do you not appreciate my investment?
Right.
Well, because you didn't even acknowledge the fact that I'm in existence, I'll take it somewhere else. So that's
Right.
something that we all need to be mindful of, especially
Right.
because we're dealing with people with we talked about just like a lot of mental health issues, a lot of mental health concerns. And so again, you never know what's going on in a person's mind. So for
Right.
me to walk into a place after I've left a home that's chaotic,
Right.
but for me to go and say, oh, I want to go here, I normally have a good experience here, but you have some person behind the desk. I remember I went into this store, shoe store, and there were two people behind the desk having a conversation with each other.
Mm.
Looked up, saw that we walked in the door, and continued their conversation.
Right.
And
Right.
so I made a U-turn and headed back out the door.
Right. Right. Because listen, I know we have there's a time that with the internet and everything, people can shop from home and all these
Mm-hmm.
things. But one business lesson that I always learn is that you never show preference to the customer who has called in over the person who walked through the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
You put the person on hold or whatever, but that person who took time to come from a place to walk actually into your place, that person deserves your full and undivided attention over somebody who just picked up the phone from the comfort of wherever. And they're asking, hey, can you go check and see if y'all got this?
Right. Right.
While you sitting there at the counter and you're just waiting. That's not good customer service. You can ask that person, hey, we're really busy in the store right now. Can you maybe call us back in 15 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They may get mad about that too, but you're not going to make everybody 100% happy all the time.
You're
And,
not.
and you're not. And that's just a reality of business too. You do the best you can with what you can control, but you want to make people feel treated right. And so I want to back up before we get ready to get out of here. I want to back up and mention one more thing, though. We were talking about this younger generation and making sure we have the right people in the right place to interact with people. This is not a knock on this next generation. It's just the reality of where we are.
Yeah.
We have a generation of young teens who are coming up now that don't have the communication skills
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we had, because they do a lot of their communicating through text,
Yep.
with shorthand writing and things like that, and a lot of slang. And when they come onto the job, they don't have that good face to face interaction and that communication ability. So that kind of plays off. And when you're talking to somebody from an older generation, that doesn't necessarily go over well, and it
It
comes
does
off
not.
as it does not.
It does not at
and
all.
and we see that a lot too with just interviews. I have seen more parents at these places on interviews with their kids than that never happened. That's a conversation that
No.
we can talk about, as a
Yeah.
business owner. How do
Yeah.
you deal with an interview with the child and the parent? That's another countless conversation we can have down the road. But we have to understand there's a communication divide that is
There's a gap
happening.
there.
And so parents, if you're listening and you got a teen getting ready to go out into the workforce, teach them
Mm-hmm.
how to communicate, because if they can communicate face to face, they will have a huge advantage over everybody else in their generation. Trust me.
No, that is good, and it's important. Just bridging these communication gaps, even for those who, when COVID hit, a lot of times we were just talking to each other.
Right.
And if we were talking to our friends, it was still using a lot of just at home talk or a lot of slang. And so, we talked about being able to code switch. You have to be able to code switch. Even as an adult, sometimes you have to be able to know when, okay, this is when I need to code switch when I'm in
Right.
certain places. It's not that you're not being authentic. It's not that you're not being yourself. You just recognize where you are. And you have to have that versatility and that flexibility to be able to, especially in business, to be able to connect with different people in different ways. And so I think that's going to be a great conversation, especially for parents, because now you have a lot of parents who they want to take up for their kids.
Right.
And it's like, well, why? I mean, they're storming in. Why did you fire little Johnny? Ma'am, little Johnny has 5 people today.
Right.
Little Johnny has messed up 25 orders and cussed out 5 people.
Yes.
Now, if you and little Johnny want to go start your own business, that's fine. But little Johnny can't work here.
Yeah, that's gonna make a great conversation. One more thing I want to mention before we get ready to go off, because I said it earlier. Yes, Belinda, we are always talking business.
Yes.
Refuse about customer service is refusing to acknowledge that you made a mistake or apologize for a mistake. That is a killer. This is how the negative Yelp and internet reviews get posted, because it's one thing customers have a low tolerance for especially when they're spending their money, and that is for you to have zero accountability. In business, this is when you need to step up to the plate and say, we messed up. I'm sorry. Is there anything we can do to make this right? And if necessary, depending on the type of business that you're about to lose, you may need to eat that mistake financially. Listen, we're going to go ahead and comp this for you. We hate that you had this horrible experience with us, and we really, really, really want to make sure that you give us another opportunity to service you well in the future. You got to be able to apologize, acknowledge you make the mistake, and try to make it right. Because you want a customer to go away who will say they messed up, but they made it right. So, I'll go back to them because I know that, if they'll own up to their mistakes and they'll make it right. What you don't want is for them to say they screwed me over and they won't even admit that they made the mistake. I ain't never going back. And I wouldn't recommend you go. That's what you don't want to happen, because people will take time out of their day to write a negative review about your business because they want to tell their story.
So when I tell you, it has been to the point where even kids notice. I think I shared this with at the table one time where my husband had brought something home from like McDonald's or somewhere, and so whatever fast food chain it was, and so Logan looked in the box and he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm supposed to have 6 nuggets. I only have 5." And so he wanted to go back to get his 6th nugget. And so, even kids will say, hey, so now it's kind of like do I really want to go back there? Because I remember they jumped me on my 6th nugget. And so even kids, we sometimes we just assume that it's an adult concern. Even kids will be able to say, okay, no, I don't want to go there, and they'll start telling their friends, and they're talking to parents. So it's a whole lot that goes into it. So the future Dr. Marquisa Williams asked if we could talk about customer service in the church. So Marquisa, you got to come back in July.
Definitely, because we're gonna talk about that.
You missed the July episode of the 360, because we are going in depth talking about Lord, especially today, customer service in the church. When I tell you, that is a topic that we most definitely have to talk about, from the parking lot to the pulpit.
Yes. It's all, you already knew we were going to talk about it, Marquise. It's happening. It's already been scheduled. It's going to be dynamic. Y'all need to be here for it.
From the parking lot to the pulpit.
It's an essential conversation to have.
Yes. So we are excited. Again, this is one of our favorite parts of what we do. Just being able to reach out to people, just being able to have these conversations, because they're necessary. They're necessary conversations. And we're not saying that we're the only ones that are having these conversations, but the more we talk about it, the more we get it out there. I think that there will be a shift, or there will be a change in people's perspective and how they think about business. Especially if you're connecting ministry in the marketplace, because there's a certain level of expectation that people already have.
Yes. Yes. Well, listen, you all, it's been a pleasure to talk about customer service with you all. Like Dr. Crawford said, join us next month in July as we talk about customer service in the church, customer service in ministry, serving in excellence. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. If you have not done so, please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Catalyst 360 Consulting on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. You can go back and rewatch all of these videos. Also, you can download them on your favorite podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, wherever podcast platform you listen to. Catch the 360. Find us and like us on there as well. It's been a blessing and a pleasure hanging out with you all this evening, this morning, actually. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you all next time.
Yes, we got you, Belinda.
We got you. See y'all next time.